Tae-ho Kim stared out the window of the space shuttle as it approached the blue-green planet of Nivara. His heart beat fast in his chest. He was one of 20 human students picked for the first human-alien exchange program. "Look at those rings," said one of his classmates, pointing at the thin silver bands that circled the planet. "I bet the mining tech they use there could make us rich back home." Tae-ho nodded but said nothing. Unlike the others, he didn't come here to get rich or famous. He just wanted to learn. The Oraxians, the aliens who lived on Nivara, were known for their amazing technology. Tae-ho, a top engineering student from Seoul National University, wanted to understand how it worked. The shuttle landed with a soft bump. When the doors opened, bright purple light flooded in. Tae-ho blinked as his eyes adjusted. The air smelled like cinnamon and metal. "Welcome, Earth students," said a tall, blue-skinned Oraxian with 4 arms. "I am Professor Do-yun, your guide at Nivara Central University. Please follow me." The human students grabbed their bags and followed Professor Do-yun. Tae-ho walked slowly, taking in everything around him. The buildings were made of a clear material that seemed to float. Oraxian students with blue and green skin walked between classes, their large eyes turning to watch the humans. "The dorms are this way," said Professor Do-yun, pointing to a tall tower. "After you drop off your things, we will have." A loud noise cut him off. Tae-ho turned to see a group of Oraxian students in a circle. They were laughing and pointing at someone in the middle. "Give it back," said a female voice from the center of the circle. "That's my research." "Why should we?" said a large male Oraxian. "Your kind thinks humans are so special. Maybe I should show your work to them instead." The other humans kept walking, pretending not to notice. Professor Do-yun frowned but did nothing. Tae-ho stopped and looked at the scene. In the middle of the circle stood a female Oraxian. She was shorter than the others, with light blue skin and large purple eyes. She was trying to grab a small device from the hand of the larger Oraxian, who held it high above her head. Without thinking, Tae-ho walked over. "Excuse me," he said in a clear voice. "Is there a problem here?" The group went quiet. The large Oraxian looked down at Tae-ho with surprise. "This is not your business, human." "You're bothering her," said Tae-ho calmly. "And you took something that belongs to her. Where I come from, that's not okay." The large Oraxian laughed. "And what will you do about it, tiny human?" Tae-ho didn't move. He wasn't big or strong, but he stood his ground. "I don't want trouble. I just think you should give back what isn't yours." For a long moment, no one moved. Then the female Oraxian spoke. "Kazur, just give it back. Your joke isn't funny anymore." The large Oraxian named Kazur looked at Tae-ho, then at the female. With a grunt, he dropped the device into her hand. "You're lucky your human pet came to help you, Nari," he said before walking away. The other Oraxians followed him. The female Oraxian, Nari, turned to Tae-ho. Up close, he could see strange markings on her face that the other Oraxians didn't have. "Thank you," she said stiffly, "but I could have handled it myself." Tae-ho nodded. "I'm sure you could. I'm Tae-ho Kim, from Earth." "I know what Earth is," she said. She put the device in her bag. "I am Nari." A whistle sounded, and Tae-ho realized his group was moving on without him. "I have to go," he said. "Nice to meet you, Nari." As he hurried to catch up with the other humans, he didn't see the Oraxian guards in dark uniforms watching from the shadows. He didn't know that Nari wasn't just any student, and he certainly didn't know that his simple act of kindness had just changed the course of his life forever. 3 days after arriving on Nivara, Tae-ho sat in Professor Do-yun's large classroom. The room was split in half, humans on one side, Oraxians on the other. No one mixed. Professor Do-yun stood at the front with all 4 of his arms spread wide. "Today, I will announce your semester project partners," he said. "Each human will work with 1 Oraxian student. Together, you will improve our communication technology." Taiho listened as the professor read names from a screen. Most of the humans looked unhappy about working with aliens. Taiho, Kim, and Nari, called Professor Doyun. Taiho looked up in surprise. Across the room, he saw the same female Araxian he had helped days ago. She didn't look happy. Several Araxian students whispered and looked at her. After class, Taiho walked over to Nari. "Hello again," he said with a small smile. "Looks like we're partners." Nari nodded stiffly. "We should meet in the library tomorrow." "Afternoon. Don't be late." Without waiting for his answer, she walked away. "Don't take it personally," said a voice behind him. Taiho turned to see another Araxian student. Nari doesn't talk much to anyone, but now everyone is talking about how she got saved by a human. "I didn't save her," said Taiho. "I just helped." The next day, Taiho arrived at the library early. The building was made of the same clear material as the other structures, but inside, it was warm and quiet. He found a table and waited. Nari arrived exactly on time. "You're here," she said, sounding surprised. "I said I would be." Taiho smiled. "So what ideas do you have for the project?" For the next hour, they talked about communication technology. Taiho noticed that Nari was extremely smart. She knew things that even his best professors on Earth didn't know. But she was also very alone. No other Araxian students came near their table. "Why do the others stay away from you?" Taiho asked during a break. Nari's purple eyes narrowed. "That's not related to our project." "I know," said Taiho. "But if we're going to work together all semester, we should at least try to be friends." "Friends?" Nari said the word like she had never heard it before. "I don't need friends. I need a good grade." Taiho shrugged. "Okay, but the offer stands." Over the next few weeks, they met every day to work on their project. While other pairs fought over cultural differences, Taiho and Nari made progress. Taiho was always curious, asking questions about Araxian technology. Instead of getting annoyed, Nari started to explain things to him. One day, as they worked late in the lab, Taiho had an idea. "What if we don't just translate words?" He said, "What if we could share feelings and ideas directly, mind to mind?" Nari looked up from her work. For the first time, she seemed interested in what he had to say. "That would require neural interface technology. It's very advanced." "But possible?" asked Taiho. Nari almost smiled. "Yes, possible." From that day on, something changed between them. Nari still didn't talk about herself, but she stopped being so cold. She listened to Taiho's ideas and added her own. Their project grew into something neither of them had imagined. What Taiho didn't know was that they were being watched. In a dark room across campus, screens showed their every move. A human official and an Araxian in royal guard uniform stood watching. "The princess has never worked so well with anyone," said the guard. The human official nodded. "Interesting. Very interesting." And in the shadows outside the lab window, Kazur, the Araxian who had bullied Nari, watched with anger in his eyes. "This human is getting too close," he whispered to himself. "Something must be done." 2 months into the semester, Taiho and Nari had made amazing progress on their communication device. It was late at night, and they were the only ones left in the lab. Outside, the 3 moons of Nivera shone bright light through the clear walls. "Let's test it one more time," said Taiho, holding the small disk they had built. It was meant to translate not just words, but feelings and ideas. Nari nodded. "The power levels are good." We shoaled. A loud crash cut her off. The lab door burst open. 3 Araxians in black masks rushed in. "Get down," shouted one of them, pointing a weapon at Taiho. "What do you want?" Taiho asked, standing his ground. "The device. Give it to us now." The leader stepped forward. Taiho recognized the voice. It was Kazur, the Araxian who had bullied Nari before. "Why do you want it?" Taiho asked, trying to stay calm. Humans should not have our technology, said Kaiser, and those who help them are traitors. He aimed his weapon at Nari. Without thinking, Tai-Ho jumped in front of her. There was a bright flash and a burning pain in his shoulder. He fell to the floor, the room spinning around him. Through blurry eyes, he saw Nari grab their device and hide it in her clothes. Then more Araxians rushed in, these wearing silver uniforms. The attackers tried to run, but the guards caught them quickly. "Are you hurt, Your Highness?" asked one of the guards, helping Nari up. "Your Highness." Tai-Ho mumbled, confused. The pain was getting worse. Nari knelt beside him. "Don't move, Tai-Ho. Help is coming." She looked worried. "I'm sorry. I should have told you." Tai-Ho tried to focus. "Told me what?" "I am Princess Nari, daughter of High Counselor Jun," she said quietly. "I go to university in secret to live a normal life." Tai-Ho tried to laugh, but it hurt too much. "No wonder everyone stayed away from you," he said. Then everything went black. When Tai-Ho woke up, he was in a strange room. The walls were a soft blue color, and he was lying on a bed that seemed to float in the air. His shoulder was wrapped in a glowing bandage. "He's awake," said a voice. Tai-Ho turned his head to see Nari sitting nearby. But she looked different. She wore fancy clothes with shining gems, and a small crown sat on her head. "Where am I?" asked Tai-Ho. "You're in the Palace Medical Center," said Nari. "You've been asleep for 2 days." Tai-Ho tried to sit up. 2 days? What about our project? The data. You almost died, and you're worried about the project. Nari shook her head. "The device is safe. I saved it." A tall, older Araxian entered the room. He had the same light blue skin as Nari and wore a large crown. Everyone in the room bowed. "So this is the human who protected my daughter," he said in a deep voice. Tai-Ho tried to bow, but the pain stopped him. "I didn't know she was a princess, sir. I just wanted to help my friend." The tall Araxian raised his eyebrows. "Friend, is this true, Nari?" Nari looked at her father. "Yes, father. Tai-Ho is my friend. He never tried to use me for my position. He never even knew who I was." High Counselor Jun studied Tai-Ho carefully. "You should know that the ones who attacked you were part of a group that hates humans. They think Earth wants to take over our world." "That's not why I came here," said Tai-Ho. "I just wanted to learn." "And yet, you have created something new with my daughter," said Jun, "something that could change everything." Nari stepped forward. "Father, Tai-Ho had the idea for mind-to-mind communication. Without him, I would never have thought of it." Jun nodded slowly. "Rest now, human. When you are well, we will talk more." He left the room. Nari sat down next to Tai-Ho's bed. "I'm sorry I didn't tell you who I was." Tai-Ho smiled weakly. "It's okay, but next time, maybe warn me about the people who might shoot me." For the first time, Nari laughed. It was a sound like small bells. "I promise." A week after the attack, Tai-Ho was back on his feet. His shoulder still hurt, but the Araxian medicine was amazing. On Earth, his injury would have taken months to heal. News had spread fast. Everyone now knew that Tai-Ho had protected Princess Nari. When he walked through the university, Araxian students moved out of his way. Some looked at him with respect, others with hate. Tai-Ho Kim, a tall human in a dark suit, waved him over. "I'm Mark Wilson from the Earth Embassy. We need to talk." Tai-Ho followed Mark to a quiet corner. "What's this about?" "You've become very important, son," said Mark with a big smile. "You're the first human to be friends with Araxian royalty. We want you to help us make some deals with them." Tai-Ho frowned. "I'm just a student. I'm not a politician." "But you have access to the princess," said Mark. "That's valuable to us." Tai-Ho shook his head. "Nari is my friend and project partner. I won't use her." Mark's smile dropped. "Think about Earth, son. Think about your future." Tai-Ho walked away, but his troubles weren't over. That afternoon, he met Neri in their lab. 4 royal guards stood outside the door. "Is all this security necessary?" asked Taiho. Neri sighed. "My father insists. After the attack, he's worried about me." She looked tired. "And now some Araxian nobles are upset that I work with you." "Why?" "They say I'm giving away our secrets to humans," said Neri. "They don't want our species to be too close." Taiho thought about what Mark had said. Earth people want the same thing from me. They worked quietly for a while. Then Taiho had a thought. "Neri, what does Professor Doyun get from our project?" Neri looked up. "What do you mean?" "He put us together. Did he know you were the princess?" "Of course," said Neri. "All the teachers know." "Why?" Taiho stood up and went to the professor's desk. He searched through the papers and found a folder with their names on it. Inside were pictures of their device and notes in a strange writing. "What's this?" asked Taiho. Neri took the folder and read the notes. Her face got pale. "These are notes about selling our technology to military people on Earth. Doyun is planning to steal our work." "Can he do that?" asked Taiho. "Not if we finish it first and show everyone," said Neri. She looked worried. "But this is dangerous. If Doyun is working with the military, he won't like us finding out." They heard footsteps outside. Quickly, they put the folder back. Professor Doyun walked in, all 4 of his arms carrying books. "How is the project going?" he asked with a smile. "Very well, Professor," said Neri calmly. "We're making good progress." "Excellent, excellent," said Doyun. But Taiho noticed he wasn't looking at them. He was looking at their device on the table. "May I see what you've done so far?" "It's not ready yet," said Taiho quickly. He picked up the device and put it in his bag. "We need to fix some problems first." Doyun's smile stayed, but his eyes got cold. "Of course. Take your time." He left the room. "We need to be careful," whispered Neri. "We can't trust him now." "What about your father?" asked Taiho. "Can he help?" Neri shook her head. "Not yet. We need proof first." She took out their device. "We need to finish this soon, before Doyun can stop us." Taiho nodded. "Then let's work faster." Outside the lab, a small drone watched them through the window. In his office, Professor Doyun watched the screen and picked up a communicator. "They know," he said into it. "We need to move our plan forward." A voice answered. "Understood. The human student must not finish that device." For the next 2 weeks, Taiho and Neri worked day and night on their device. They moved to a secret lab in the palace where Doyun couldn't find them. The room had no windows and only one door with guards outside. "I think it's ready," said Taiho one night. He held up their creation. It was a small silver disc with blue lights around the edge. "We just need to test it." Neri looked nervous. "Testing it means we have to use it on ourselves. Are you sure it's safe?" "No," said Taiho honestly. "But we need to know if it works before we show everyone." Neri nodded. "You're right." She took the device from him. "How does it work again?" "We each wear one of these," said Taiho, breaking the disc into 2 pieces. "They connect to our minds. They don't just translate words. They should let us share thoughts and feelings directly." "If it works, it could change everything," said Neri. "Humans and Araxians could truly understand each other for the first time." Taiho handed her one half of the device. "Ready?" They placed the pieces on their foreheads. The blue lights began to glow brighter. Taiho felt a strange tingling in his head. "Anything?" asked Neri. "Not yet," said Taiho. "Maybe we need to." Suddenly, his mind exploded with new feelings and thoughts. But they weren't his. He saw himself through Neri's eyes. He felt her worry about her people, her love for her father, her fear of failing as a princess. At the same time, Neri gasped. She was seeing his memories of Earth, feeling his loneliness as a student who cared more about learning than being popular, his wonder at the stars. They stood frozen, sharing each other's worlds. Taiho saw Nari's childhood in the palace, always watched, never truly free. Nari felt Taiho's joy when he was accepted into the exchange program, his pure excitement to learn about alien technology. After what felt like hours but was only minutes, they removed the devices. They stared at each other, breathing hard. That was. Taiho couldn't find words. Amazing, finished Nari. Her eyes were wide. I saw everything. I felt everything. I understand you now. I saw how hard it is to be you, said Taiho. All that pressure, all that responsibility. Nari smiled. And I felt your curiosity, your kindness. You really do just want to learn, don't you? There's no hidden plan. I told you that from the start, said Taiho with a small laugh. Yes, but now I know it's true. Nari looked at the device in her hand. This works better than we thought. It doesn't just share language. It shares everything. Who we really are. Taiho nodded. That's what real communication should be. We need to show this to my father, said Nari. And then to the university. This could help everyone understand each other better. As they packed up their work, a guard came in. Princess, your father wants to see you and the human right away. When they entered the High Counselor's chamber, Jun was not alone. Professor Do-hyun was there too, along with several important-looking Oraxians and humans in suits. Ah, just in time, said Do-hyun with a wide smile. I was just telling everyone about the demonstration tomorrow. Demonstration? Asked Nari. Yes, said Jun. Professor Do-hyun says your project is ready to show to the public. Representatives from Earth and all Oraxian noble houses will be there. Taiho and Nari looked at each other in alarm. This was too soon. Is there a problem? Asked Jun, noticing their faces. No problem, High Counselor, said Do-hyun quickly. They're just nervous about showing their work. As they left the chamber, Do-hyun walked close to them and whispered, Tomorrow you will give me the device before the demonstration, or there will be consequences. Taiho felt cold fear in his stomach, but when he looked at Nari, he saw determination in her eyes. We'll be ready, she said to Do-hyun. Don't worry. The next morning, Taiho woke up early in his palace guest room. He couldn't sleep. The demonstration was in 4 hours, and Do-hyun wanted their device. He knew they couldn't give it to him. There was a soft knock at his door. It was Nari. I have a plan, she whispered. Follow me. They walked through quiet palace halls until they reached a small room filled with screens. This is the security center, said Nari. My father lets me use it sometimes. She pressed some buttons, and videos appeared on the screens. One showed Do-hyun in a dark room with several humans and Oraxians. I recorded this last night, said Nari. Listen. On the screen, Do-hyun spoke. Once we have their device, we can change it. Make it look like it failed dangerously. The humans will be blamed, and the exchange program will end. An Oraxian in the group nodded. Good. Humans should stay on their own planet. A human in the group added, and we'll get the technology for Earth's military. Win-win. Taiho felt sick. They want to ruin everything we've worked for. It gets worse, said Nari, changing the video. This one showed a locked room full of human students. Are those? Taiho couldn't finish. Yes, said Nari. They've taken some of the exchange students hostage. They'll use them to force us to hand over our device. We have to tell your father, said Taiho. Nari shook her head. Do-hyun has spies everywhere. If we try, he'll hurt the students. She pulled out their communication device. But we have this. Taiho understood. We can use it to connect our minds and make a plan without talking out loud. Exactly, said Nari. But we need to get to the hostages first. They tracked the students to an old building on the edge of the university. 2 guards stood at the door. Taiho and Nari hid behind some bushes. Ready? Asked Nari, holding up her half of their device. Taiho nodded, placing his piece on his forehead. Instantly, their minds connected. In this silent mental space, they made a plan. Nari would distract the guards while Taeho sneaked inside. They would use the device to stay connected the whole time. The plan worked perfectly. Nari walked up to the guards, claiming she was lost. While they were busy with the princess, Taeho slipped through a back window. Inside, he found 10 human students tied up in a large room. Through his mental link with Nari, he could tell that more guards were coming soon. "Taeho," whispered one of the students when she saw him. "What's going on?" "They grabbed us last night." "No time to explain," said Taeho, untying them quickly. "We need to get out now." Outside, Nari sensed through their connection that Taeho had freed the students. She thanked the guards and walked away. Then she set off a palace alarm on her communicator as a distraction. As guards ran toward the noise, Taeho led the students out a back door. In his mind, he could see the path Nari was showing him, a safe route back to the palace. They met up in the forest behind the building. "Everyone okay?" asked Nari, looking at the confused human students. "We're fine," said one student, staring at the princess. "But why would a royal Oraxian help us?" "Because we're not enemies," said Taeho. "That's what some people want you to think, but it's not true." Nari checked her communicator. "The demonstration starts in 1 hour. Do-hyun will be looking for us." "What do we do now?" asked Taeho. Nari's purple eyes narrowed. "We go to the demonstration, but we bring everyone." She looked at the rescued students. "You all are proof of the conspiracy, and our device is proof that humans and Oraxians can truly understand each other," added Taeho. They hurried toward the university center where the demonstration would take place. Through their mental connection, Taeho and Nari shared the same thought. It was time to reveal the truth to everyone. The university center was packed with people. Oraxian nobles sat on one side. Earth officials sat on the other. High Counselor Jun sat in the middle on a raised platform. Professor Do-hyun stood at the front, looking nervous. "Where are they?" Do-hyun was saying. "The students should be here by now." Just then, the doors burst open. Taeho and Nari walked in, followed by the freed human students. Everyone turned to look. "Sorry we're late," said Nari loudly. "We had to stop a crime first." Do-hyun's face turned a dark blue color. "What is this? Where did you find these students?" "In the locked building where you hid them," said Taeho. He turned to the crowd. "Professor Do-hyun and his friends kidnapped these students. They planned to blame humans for a fake accident today." The room filled with shocked voices. Jun stood up. "Princess Nari, is this true?" Nari nodded. "Yes, father. And we have proof." She held up a small device. "This contains videos of Do-hyun planning everything." Guards rushed forward to grab Do-hyun. "This is a mistake," he shouted. "The human is lying." "Actually," said one of the rescued students, "we all heard them talking about their plan while we were locked up. They want to end the exchange program." For the next hour, there was chaos. Guards took away Do-hyun and several others. The rescued students told their stories. Jun called for an emergency meeting with Earth officials. Through it all, Taeho and Nari stood together, still wearing their communication devices, their minds still linked. They didn't need to speak to understand each other's relief. Finally, Jun returned to the room. Everyone went quiet. "Today, we have seen both the worst and the best of our two species," he said. "Some wanted to divide us, but 2 students showed us a better way." He looked at Taeho and Nari. "Please, show us your real project now." Taeho and Nari walked to the front. Taeho spoke first. "This device doesn't just translate words, it connects minds. It lets us truly understand each other." Nari continued, "We've been using it all day. That's how we saved the students and stopped the plot. We could share thoughts without speaking." A murmur went through the crowd. Some looked afraid, others looked amazed. "We would like to show you," said Nari. She held up her half of the device. "Who will volunteer?" After a moment, An Earth official stood up. Then an Araxian noble joined him. Tai-Ho and Neri gave them the devices. When they put them on, both gasped. For 5 minutes, no one spoke. When they finally removed the devices, both had tears in their eyes. "It's incredible," said the Earth official. "I understand now. Everything." The demonstration continued late into the night. Pair after pair tried the device, human and Araxian, sharing minds, truly understanding each other for the first time. At midnight, Jun called Tai-Ho to his private chamber. Neri came too. "Young human," said Jun, "you have done more for peace between our worlds than anyone before you." He looked serious. "I want to offer you a choice." "A choice?" asked Tai-Ho. "Yes," said Jun. "The Earth Embassy wants you to return home as a hero. They will make you rich and famous." He paused. "But I offer something else. Stay here, on Nivara. Join our Royal Science Academy. No human has ever been invited before." Tai-Ho was shocked. I don't know what to say." Neri stepped forward. "Father, may I speak with Tai-Ho alone?" Jun nodded and left the room. When they were alone, Neri took Tai-Ho's hands. "Before you decide," she said, "there's something else I want to offer you." Her eyes were bright. "Our neural technology can do more than connect minds. It can enhance them." "What do you mean?" asked Tai-Ho. "I can give you a gift," said Neri softly. "A gift that will change your life forever." "What kind of gift?" asked Tai-Ho, looking at Neri with curious eyes. Neri walked to a wall and pressed her hand against it. A hidden door opened, showing a small room with a strange chair in the center. "This is Araxian biotechnology," she said. "We use it to help our minds grow stronger. No human has ever used it." She turned to him. "It could change you, Tai-Ho. Make your mind faster, your body stronger. You might live much longer than normal humans." Tai-Ho stared at the chair. "Is it safe for humans?" "I don't know," Neri admitted. "But I studied your biology. I think it will work." She touched his arm. "This is my gift to you. Whether you stay or go home, you will carry a piece of Araxian knowledge with you." For a long moment, Tai-Ho said nothing. Then he nodded. "I trust you, Neri." The next day, they prepared for the procedure. Neri brought him to a special room deep in the palace. 3 Araxian doctors were waiting. "Are you sure about this, Princess?" asked one doctor. "A human has never." "I'm sure," said Neri firmly. "Prepare him." Tai-Ho lay down on a table. The doctors put small silver discs all over his head and chest. They connected tubes to his arms. "This will hurt," warned Neri, holding his hand. "But I'll be here the whole time." "I'm ready," said Tai-Ho. The doctors turned on the machine. At first, Tai-Ho felt nothing. Then pain shot through his body like fire in his veins. He screamed. The room spun around him. "His heart rate is too high," shouted one doctor. "Continue the procedure," ordered Neri, squeezing Tai-Ho's hand tighter. For what felt like hours, Tai-Ho burned with pain. Then, slowly, the pain changed to a strange, warm feeling. Behind his eyes, he saw new colors he had never seen before. In his ears, he heard sounds beyond normal human hearing. "It's working," whispered Neri. "Look at his brain patterns." Tai-Ho felt his mind expanding. Knowledge flowed into him. He understood complex Araxian math instantly. He saw patterns in the universe he had never noticed before. And strangest of all, he could feel Neri's presence in his mind, even without their communication device. When the procedure ended, Tai-Ho slept for 3 days. Neri stayed by his side the whole time. On the 4th day, he opened his eyes. "How do you feel?" asked Neri. Tai-Ho sat up slowly. "Different. Everything is more." He looked at his hands. They looked the same, but he could feel new strength in them. "What happened to me?" "The procedure worked better than we hoped," said Neri with a smile. "Your brain has new neural pathways. You can process information faster than any human. Your cells are regenerating, which means you'll heal quickly and live longer. Tai-Ho stood up and walked to a window. Outside, he could see tiny details on leaves across the garden. He could hear conversations from far away. It's amazing. A knock came at the door. Mark Wilson from the Earth Embassy walked in with two other humans in suits. "We heard about the procedure," said Mark, looking worried. "Tai-Ho, you need to come back to Earth for medical tests. We don't know what they've done to you." "I feel fine," said Tai-Ho. "You're still human," said Mark. "You belong with us." Just then, an Araxian noble burst into the room. "High Counselor Jun wants to see everyone immediately," he said. "There's trouble." In the main hall, angry voices were shouting. A group of Araxian nobles stood on one side. Jun stood in the middle, trying to calm them. "What's happening?" asked Tai-Ho. "The nobles are angry," said Neri. "They say I had no right to share our sacred technology with a human. They want the procedure reversed." "Can it be reversed?" asked Tai-Ho quietly. Neri looked at him with sad eyes. "No. What's done is done. You are changed forever." 5 years passed since that day in the palace hall. Much had changed in the galaxy. Tai-Ho stood on the balcony of the new Human Araxian Research Institute. The building was huge, with clear walls that showed scientists of many species working inside. From here, he could see both the palace and the university where his journey had begun. "Thinking about the past again?" asked a familiar voice. Tai-Ho turned to see Nari walking toward him. She wore the crown of the High Counselor now. Her father had stepped down 2 years ago. "Just remembering how it all started," said Tai-Ho with a smile. "Sometimes I can't believe how much has changed." After the fight in the palace that day, Tai-Ho had made a bold choice. He would not go back to Earth, but he would not stay on Nivera either. Instead, he would build something new, a place where both species could work together. At first, no one thought it would work. Earth officials were angry that he wouldn't return. Araxian nobles didn't trust him. But Tai-Ho wasn't just a normal human anymore. His enhanced mind could solve problems that stumped others. His ability to understand both human and Araxian thinking made him the perfect bridge between worlds. And with Nari's support, he slowly won people over. "The new students arrive tomorrow," said Nari, standing beside him at the railing. 50 humans and 60 Araxians, and this year we have 10 from the Loreth system too. Tai-Ho nodded. "Our first students from beyond our 2 worlds. It's a good sign." Their communication device had changed everything. Improved versions were now used across the galaxy for diplomacy. When species could truly understand each other, many old conflicts ended. "There's a ship coming from Earth next week," said Nari. "Your mother will be on it." Tai-Ho smiled wider. "She'll like the new garden. It has plants from Earth now." His mother had been afraid when she first learned about his transformation, but when she saw that he was still himself, just more, she had accepted it. Now she visited twice a year. A young Araxian assistant ran up to them. "Sir, the new neural interface is ready for testing." "Thank you, Jun," said Tai-Ho. "We'll be right there." The latest version of their technology was their most advanced yet. It could connect the minds of up to 10 people at once, sharing knowledge instantly. It made learning faster than ever before. As they walked inside, students from many worlds bowed to them. Tai-Ho still wasn't used to that. He preferred when they asked him questions instead. In the main lab, a group of scientists waited. The new device sat on a table, smaller than the first one he and Neri had made, but much more powerful. "Sometimes I wonder what would have happened if I hadn't helped you that day in the courtyard," said Tai-Ho quietly to Nari. She touched his arm. "I think we would have found each other anyway. Some things are meant to be." Their relationship had grown over the years into something unique. Not quite human love, not quite Araxian bond, but something new, like Tai-Ho himself. They were partners in the truest sense, leading their worlds together, ready to make history again. asked Nari with a small smile. Taiho nodded. Always. As they prepared to test the new device, Taiho thought about his journey. From a simple student to something beyond human. From an outsider to a bridge between worlds. All because he had helped someone in trouble without thinking of reward. The Araxians had a saying, "Small acts shape great destinies." His life had proven that true. His act of kindness toward an alien princess had changed not just his destiny, but the destiny of many worlds. And this was just the beginning.